Thank you very much for joining us. I think it's an important opportunity to discuss a very important issue in our present, based on some experience from our past or my personal past regarding Mohammed Adura case, which looks like we are in a similar situation. Taking you back to September 30 on the year of 2000, it was Rosh Hashanah, holiday in Israel. As you all know, so remember, or maybe not born yet at that time, I don't know what's your ages. At that day, the second armed intifada started. And we at the Southern Command were ready for this day since I started my position as the commander of the Southern Command in September 1997, 3 years before that. And all this was based, all my work was based on lesson learned from the 1996 Sukkot event, when our Prime Minister, if you remember, went to the in Jerusalem, in the tunnel, and some mini intifada, mini armed intifada started in Sukkot 1996. And I came a year after. I studied the lesson learned from that, and I changed actually the whole principle of the defense way in our post in the Gaza Strip. From my background, I knew the Gaza Strip very well. I was the commander of the Gaza Strip for 2.5 years, and I was the head of the Joint Security Committee with the Palestinians for about 4 years. Before that, between 1994 and 1997. So I knew very well the area. I knew very well the Palestinian police, which I personally provided them the weapons after the Cairo Agreement on May 1994. I know the culture of the Palestinians. I know the language. I speak Arabic, just speech. I don't read and write, unfortunately, but I know very well and very close. My parents came from Libya, so I met a lot of friends in the West Bank, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Jordan. So I know very well the culture, and I know quite things about the way of some of them thinking. When I came to the event of Mohammed Adura, at this time as the commander of the Southern Command, once I saw the 45 seconds from France 2 that they published on the news on Saturday night, September 30, 2000, immediately I called the Chief of Staff, Shaul Mofaz, and I told him in a very clear words, one, I'm very sure that it was not, the killing was not by an Israeli soldiers, based on two main things that I can say about that time. One is all my soldiers are in a very, very well sheltered positions. We were ready for that day. Second, the only people who shot from our post at that day are only snipers. We didn't shot from machine guns, from simple rifles, only snipers. And the order was that they can shoot only on armed people, either with weapons or bomb grenade or Molotov bottles, etc. but for sure they didn't shot on this day on any civilians. So when I saw the case of Mohammed Adura, I said, I'm sure that they were not my soldiers. I made also a quick interview with the commander of the two commanders of the posts, two lieutenant colonels, by the way. Usually this kind of posts commanded by captains. Due to my decision at that day when the all the shooting starts, I appointed two lieutenant colonels to be commanding this post. I knew it's very sensitive areas, Netzarim Junction. So when I interviewed them and they interviewed the soldier, I was sure that it was didn't made by any of our soldiers. Then I led inquiry team with physicians, with professionals on weapon, shooting, etc. And took us about 2 months or something like that to make all the deep inquiry, include getting some of the video that France though didn't publish to the public, and our bottom line, which I presented in Beta Itonaim, journalist house, what we call in Tel Aviv, with all the assumptions why the shooting of Mohammed Adura was made by a Palestinians, either Palestinian police or any other, what I called at that day with the word Pallywood, means Palestinian Hollywood. It's all was directed moment by moment, how they will took the shots. They were ready with 3 cameras on Mohammed Adura and his father, and all was ready to show to the world what Israel didn't do. So this is about the case of Mohammed Adura. And another experience that I had very well with the Palestinians was few years before that. We signed the agreement with the Palestinian Authority in May 1994 in Cairo. I was involved in the negotiation, by the way, 6 months in Cairo with the team. And when they came inside Gaza, we provide them with the 20,000 weapons for the Palestinian police, as you remember. And I nominated as the head of the Joint Security Committee from the Israeli side. My counterpart was also Brigadier General Ziad al-Atrash. May God bless his soul. He died from cancer a few years after that. And we led together the Joint Security Committee for 4 years. And we actually, we put in place all the if you remember, we used to have patrols together, all the posts, the post in Jericho and around Gaza together, taking care about security and civilian life, and include the intelligence cooperation, which I think it's the only part of that organization that's still working, the intelligence level of this Joint Security Committee. In 1995 was a case that from a Palestinian police post near Erez Passage was a shooting against an Israeli patrol. And the patrol with the 2 commanders of the brigade and the division, Doron Almog and Nabi Mar'i, may God bless his soul, he was killed in 1997 after that. They assault on the shooting sources. They killed the 3 guys who were in this post shooting at our patrol. They collect all the remaining from the shooting, and we took it to our laboratory, and we showed to the other side that 100% the shooting was from a Palestinian police AK-47 Kalashnikovs, that we had the history of that Kalashnikov when we handle those weapons to the Palestinian police. And I suggest to them at that time to lead together a mutual inquiry committee. I think it was the first time ever and the last time ever that both sides led the same inquiry committee.
Recording in progress.
Again, sorry?
Nothing, please continue.
Okay. So we led the committee mutually together, myself and Ziad El-Atrash and his team and my team, and we went step by step. We made a review on all the steps, and when we reached the moment of truth that I put on the table the results of the laboratory that shows for 100% that the weapon that was used in this case was a weapon from the Palestinian police. Then we have the number of the weapon, the ID number of the weapon, and now I can say that even through intelligence sources, we knew that this weapon after the event was handed to Yasser Arafat himself, and he kept it in his office. And we tried to get this weapon back. They never wanted to. Even Mohammed Akhlan, who believed me, and he tried to bring this weapon so we can show for 100% again that it is it's initiated by Palestinian police guys. And when I put this truth evidence on the table, they immediately got an order from Arafat to stop the mutual inquiry, and they said, okay, say whatever you want. Since then, as long as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, was not any mutual inquiry committee for both sides. So I don't believe that in the case of Jenin today, they will agree to lead together with us, with Israel, any committee with all the effects on the table. That's from my background. That's why I'm ready to answer any questions about the Jenin issue. Again, I'm not in the details of Jenin issue. I'm not in the army anymore. I am not briefed by anyone. I can speak only from what I'm hearing in the news, and based on my experience, based on my know-how about the culture, the way that the Palestinian Authority works, the Palestinian police works, and their other flanks works.
Before we open for questions, maybe you could elaborate some more. You've discussed the way that you've proved how things were done back in 2000. Now that, for example, the body is in the hands of the Palestinians and there's no bullet, how would they be able to prove anything? They meaning the IDF and Israel. And even if they do, wouldn't it be too late? I mean, the train or the ship has already sailed. The narrative is very, very evident. So is there even a possibility to reach quote unquote truth?
It's a good question. Thank you very much. It reminds me, coming back to September 2000, we in the day after, on Sunday, we asked the Palestinians, me personally, asked the commander of the Palestinian police, three main things. One, let's organize a committee together like we did in 1996 to to do all the inquiry together, putting all the evidence on the table, one. Second, let's have a post-mortem on the body of Muhammad Ad-Dura so we can pick up the bullets from his body and see to which weapons, what kind of weapons they belongs to. And let's continue do it together. Show and the third things that we ask is, you have 45 minutes or even more, 49 minutes of videos on this event. Why you released only 45 seconds? Show us the all 45 minutes that you have from the same cameras. And this event is well known by France 2 at that time, that they have almost an hour of video of this event, because you can see on the time frame of the event when they start, when they finished, and they released to the world only these 45 seconds. As long as I remember, a few years after that, in a court in France, in Paris, they were forced by the court to release the whole video. They didn't do it, as long as I remember. Again, I'm not sure I remember, maybe they released 2 more minutes only. So we tried to put everything on the table, all our truth on the table, and show that we didn't kill Muhammad Ad-Dura, for sure. But they decided not to do so due to the experience from 1996, or the event in Erez Passage. They understand that we have strong facts that we can put on the table, which they don't have. Furthermore, if they will put all the facts that they have, mainly the 45 or the 50-something minutes of video, we can show them the shooting from Palestinian police backside of Muhammad Ad-Dura and his father, and north side from Muhammad Ad-Dura and his father, which shows that the angle of the shooting on the wall that Muhammad Ad-Dura was nearby was from 90% angle and not from 90-degree angle, sorry, like this, and not 30-degree angle from the post, the Israeli post, to the wall.
Again, so now that they don't have these, the same means for evidence, what's possible to be done? That was my question. If at all.
I don't know what's, if you're right, if at all. I don't know what's the situation of the body of this lady, the journalist. If they did a post-mortem, if they're willing to give us the right bullet to the inquiry. I'm not sure that if they will agree, as I understand at the moment, they don't agree to pass or to make inquiry together, to put the real events on the table. From their point of view, it's the easiest way is to say that the Israeli soldiers killed this lady. And I'd like to add a very important issue to all what we call a moral on the battlefield. We trained our soldier under the philosophy that keeping the moral and keeping what we call Toar HaNeshek or Musar Lechima, the moral of fighting. Not because the main reason that we keep it in our army is not because we don't like to kill people, which is obvious from my point of view. It's because we want to defend our souls, ourselves, like we said in our Hebrew phrase, יותר מששמרו בני ישראל את השבת, שמרה השבת על בני ישראל. If I'll translate it in a freely, more than the Jewish kept the Shabbat during the 2,000 years of diaspora, the Shabbat kept the Jews as a people. as a one people for 2,000 years. So what I'm saying about the moral fighting, that the more we will keep the moral fighting, we are keeping our souls, our soldiers, not to lose their tselem enosh, humanity. How you translate tselem enosh?
Yeah, human nature.
Human nature. We don't want our soldiers, our commanders, to lose the human nature. You know why? Because we don't. Because first of all, because we are Jewish, and this is against our beliefs and our culture. And secondly, it's the only way to keep ourselves as a normal people. The Russian army lost in Afghanistan or Pakistan. The American lost in Vietnam after 11 years. The French army lost in Algeria. One of the reasons that those armies didn't achieve their missions in those areas, although all of them are much, much stronger than their enemies, is because their soldiers lost their human behavior. So we are controlling other people for 53 years already, and we are still there. One of the reasons, leave the politics issue aside, one of the reasons that we are still in control is we are keeping the souls and the human behavior of our soldiers and commanders.
Thank you very much. And to correct, the correct term was humanity rather than human nature. I have
Yeah,
further questions.
I said humanity at the beginning.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Good for you.
Okay. Okay.
And but I have more questions, but please, journalists, if you have a question, unmute yourselves and begin or ask the question.
Dr. Samia, this is Benjamin Rose from Mishpacha Magazine. Thank you for your presentation so far. Question that I have is that we know that in some cases, Palestinians have stolen weapons and stolen ammunition from the IDF. So even if they handed over the gun and the bullet, how would we know that it really didn't come from us?
James Bond would ask you if I'll tell you I have to kill you, but I'm not James Bond. I'm kidding. Forget it. There is a way to show that this bullet was shot from this weapon. Okay? There is a laboratory way that we can show for 100%, and it's in all the democratic countries' court, that fact is in effect in every court you bring. You can show that this bullet, whatever is made of, US, Israel, SSR, whatever this bullet made of, it was shot from this pistol or from this weapon by doing some test in the laboratory and range, etc., etc. So I agree with you that the situation is very difficult because they steal weapons, they steal ammunition, and they have our weapons and they have our ammunitions. But once we will have the real bullets, and we can take the 6 weapons of the soldiers who were within the parameter of this event, we can shoot from these 6 weapons and compare them to the bullets that they gave us. If they will give us the right bullets, that's a different question. If they will give us the bullets at all, it's another question. But once we will have the right bullets, we can show yes or no shot from our weapons or not. But it's a good question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. David?
According to Al Jazeera, the Israeli army has reversed its assertion that Palestinian fire killed this Al Jazeera reporter. We've heard Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi saying it's now unclear that who fired the shot that killed Abu Akleh who that person was. Why is Israel making such a concession when there's so much doubt still in the air? Why does Israel do this?
Well, I'm not presenting the official Israel position or the army position. I can tell you, I told you my position, my way, why we have to defend ourselves and show to the world that we are keeping our humanity of our soldiers, because we want to take care of ourselves, first of all. And by the way, if we are going back to 2000, the chief of staff at that time, Shaul Mofaz, and the S3 of the army, Major General Giora Island, at that night of September 30, they released to the media that the IDF is very sorry about the kids, and we didn't. If we did it, we didn't make it by purpose, etc., etc. They didn't follow my answers, and today, or few years after that, both of them, when they left the army, they wrote 2 books. By the way, Shaul Mofaz is recently, a few weeks ago, and both of them are they are asking my apologies that they didn't follow my release statements that I made at that night, and they released other statement. I'm happy that at least this lesson was learned, and I didn't, as long as I'm hearing the news, I'm not on the news all day, I didn't hear the same release of opinion in this time from Kochavi or from the commander of the Southern Command or any others.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions?
Just got another question quickly.
David, hold on. David, hold on for a second. Just want to make sure first timers first, and then I'm gonna go back to you.
Okay,
Do we have any more questions? Okay, David, go ahead.
Just wondering about the other Al Jazeera employee that has been wounded, this Ali Samodi. Would there be any clues in the fact that he also received a bullet that could be incorporated into an investigation?
Again, I'm not in the details of the recent event, but I believe that if the Palestinian side will agree to lead mutual and open inquiry and bring all the facts to the table, include the post-mortem results, the bullets, the wounded guy with what from he was wounded, the all weapons that were around from the Palestinians terrorists at that time, which I don't believe they can get it. We will bring the 6 weapons or the 8 weapons, whatever, which were in this parameter. But it sounds like I'm talking on illusion situation, which I don't believe that Palestinians will bring all those facts to the table to open inquiry leading by both sides.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yes, Tal, Benjamin Rose again. If I can ask one more question. Dr. Sami, again, we very much appreciate, especially I live here for almost 30 years, I appreciate the morality and the ethics of the IDF. I've interviewed Professor Asa Kasher many times over the years.
My teacher, he is my teacher and my PhD
your mentor, so to speak.
Is my mentor. Okay, we are. By the way, I'm working now on my 3rd book, and he's my mentor on that book, and we have a morality chapter in this book as well. And again, the essence of the chapter is we are doing it for ourselves first of all, before we are doing it for others. We like to keep our souls and our life on a morality matter, on a clean matter, because we don't want to lose this war on our country, on our independence, and we want to keep ourselves as a human being due to our culture and religion.
But when we're facing a ruthless enemy that doesn't play by our rules, and there have been a lot of complaints recently that we're not giving the opportunity of the IDF soldiers to defend themselves. We saw that in Gaza a few months ago. Isn't it time maybe to tweak or update our doctrine so that we can take into account, again, the ruthlessness of the enemy and the fact that there's a lot of complaints that we're not succeeding in winning even the small battles that we should win?
It's a great questions. Which is actually, it's referred to the whole situation with the Palestinian issue and in general, and with the Hamas in particular. I have on that a great thought, of course, and a way of solution. I don't want to go very deep into it right now. You have to buy my book in a few months, but I have to say as follows. One, unfortunately, for the last 14 years, Israel doesn't have the strategic or the right strategic to solve the Hamas issue in the Gaza Strip. The Hamas are the biggest crime organization in the world at the moment. They are holding in a prison 2.5 million Palestinians. They are the controller of this prison, what they call the Gaza prison. Who is controlling Gaza? The Hamas. The Hamas is using 72% of each dollar, 72 cents of each dollar that either the Kuwaiti sending or the Qatar sending or the Saudi sending or the international community sending to Gaza. They are using 72 cents for each dollar for their weapon and for their attacking weapons and defense system. Only 28 cents remain for food for those prisoners of Hamas in Gaza. So we don't have, I think, according to my view, the right strategic way to vanish, which the bottom line should be vanish the Hamas from the Gaza Strip and bring back the Palestinian Authority to control their people. We could have made it easily in 2008 in the first operation. We could make it after that in 2010, and when we arrived 2014, it was much difficult to do it. I have to remind you, in the first operation in 2008, within 9 hours, we cut the Gaza Strip into 3 parts. We arrived to the sea, and we were about days from vanishing the Hamas. And we had 10 casualties, 4 of them from mutual friendly fire. In 2014, only 6 years after that, the Hamas became stronger. We fought 31 days. We hardly moved 2 kilometers into the Gaza Strip, and we had 73 casualties. So this lack of strategy to vanish the Hamas from the Gaza Strip is against Israel, is against the Palestinian Authority, and it's against the whole world, the hypocrite world, who are still considering the Hamas as a political flank who took Gaza in a democratic way.
Thank you very much. We have another one. David, I see you have a question. One more before that, and then you can go. So this is from Nami from Khan. Could you please revisit the question of the narrative, as in, regardless of the outcome of any inquiry, do you expect any international or other fallout for Israel from this?
You mean regarding the Jenin issue?
Yes.
I don't understand. I'm not sure I understand the question. It's from Khan. Nomi from Khan?
Yeah, Khan English. Yeah. אני מניחה שהיא שואלת בעצם, לא משנה מה תהיה התוצאה, מה תהיינה ההשלכות, האם יהיו השלכות מבחינת ישראל לרעה?
No, I don't think that it's going to be bad as it was with Muhammad Adura case. Fortunately, the world is 22 years older than 2000. They understand very well the Palestinian narrative. Some of them, those who are not hypocrites, understand very well the way that Hamas and Fatah are working in the Gaza Strip and mainly now from the West Bank. They understand very well that they send terrorists in the last 50 days of Ramadan and others and killed 19 people within restaurants, streets in Israel. And all those hypocrites hopefully will not use this case as another Muhammad Adura case. And if yes, it's their problem, it's not our problem. We believe in our way. We believe in our morality to keep our soldiers and our commanders' life and soul. If they want to use it against themselves, it will be against themselves. I don't care.
David?
You've spoken about Israel's failed strategy or lack of strategy in dealing with Hamas in Gaza. But do you think there is now potentially a much bigger issue looming in the West Bank, where, of course, Jenin is located? There seems to be enormous disillusion among Palestinians in the West Bank with the Palestinian Authority. The leader, of course, is getting very old. He won't be immortal, although sometimes it feels as if he is. When Abbas dies, how do you see things unfolding? Is there any way that Israel can influence what happens next? What should it be doing? And how do you see things unfolding when finally the situation that has existed since 2006 comes to an end?
David, you're giving me a hard time. Thank you. It's a 150 pages answer.
Okay.
Can we start it now, or do you wait for my book?
Oh, okay. Well, start it now.
I'll give you just a clue of it. I think that it is time for Israel, after 120 years of conflict, or 160, whatever you counted as historian, but 120 is enough. It's a long time. It is time for Israel to change the paradigm of how we are taking this conflict. In general, the paradigm from the beginning of this conflict, take it 1917, the Balfour Declaration, or before that, the first Zionist Congress, or the first neighborhood outside of Jerusalem, Mishkanot Sha'ananim, or the first Hashomer organization, armed Jewish organization in Israel. Whenever you take it, the paradigm of Israel's side was, we agree to any solution that the national community put on the table. Either the Balfour Declaration, the White Book 1922, the Second White Book 1936. And even we agreed for what I call the biggest miracle of Israel, more than Purim and Hanukkah, which was in 1947, in May 15, 1947. The decision of the United Nations for dividing the area between the Jordan and the sea into two parts. 65% to the Arab side, 35% to the Jewish side. And we agreed. We agreed to take 35%, which was much narrow than what we call the borders of June 4, 1967. It was without the old Negev, without Beersheba, without Ashdod, without all the west of the Galilee. It was a tiny, small, little country. And we agreed. We said yes. We went into the street and we danced Ora. And they, instead of dance Debka in the other street, they start a war against us with 7 different countries and 7 different army in 47. So what the hell you want? Why you call it Nakba instead of call it your problem? You initiate the independent war. We didn't initiate it. And you lost that war. And we became to the borders of June 4th, 1967, or call it 1949 borders. What the hell you want? And then you start again in 1967, and we took the old Sinai, the old West Bank, the old, what the hell you want? You always start something, you lose, and you cry. You go a few years ahead, you start something, you lose, and you cry. So it is time to change the paradigm from the Israeli side. What is the new paradigm? I'll give you just a clue. It's called the 7 iron principles that Israel should use from now on. You can find it on my website with some more clues, and you can read it in my book. But it is time to change the paradigm of Israel with the Palestinian conflict.
Would you be able to share, if not all 7, I understand, but maybe 1 or 2 of the principles you've mentioned?
I'll say them very fast. Israel should stay one national state with a Jewish majority. Second, Jerusalem is forever the capital of Israel. The third, the right of return is not negotiable. There is no refugees. There are no refugees. There is no right of return to the borders of Israel or the West Bank. The fourth is Jerusalem, Gaza and the West Bank are one unit. We are not doing an agreement with one side and left the other side. Then it will be 3 states for 3 people. The next is there is no place for 2 armies between the Jordan River and the sea. So there would not be a Palestinian army with tanks and air force, etc., etc. The next one is the conflict is not between Israel and the Palestinians. The conflict is all the Middle East. So in the next agreement should be an agreement between the all 7 countries surrounded Israel, and part of them are to deal with the issue as well. And the national community like United States, Europe, China should not be just the host of the ceremonies. They should be a guarantor, the guarantee part, like when my son going to take mortgage from the bank, I sign for him. If he's not paying, I'm going to pay instead of him. So if the Palestinian side will not do part of the sides, or we will not do, those guys can come and force us to do it. The 7th principle is a very, very cultural and Palestinian principle, is all the above 6 principles are one piece. They are not negotiable. I hope I said all the 7. I wasn't ready for that, but those are the 7 principles. But you can find them on my websites or my history of.
Can I just ask you one question here that comes back to what I asked earlier? So, okay, that's your wish list. How are you ever going to
No. Sorry, it's not my wish list.
Okay.
If I am the Prime Minister of Israel tomorrow, that's the list I will publish and
So
say, guys,
okay.
if you want to talk with me, if you want to talk with me about your people, follow those principles. If you don't follow them, don't come. Stay in your place.
How will you find a Palestinian partner who's willing to accept those terms?
It's not my problem. It's their problem. They should find their leader. Listen, we have enough problems at home. You know what's the main concern of me and my kids, for my kids and my grandkids? It's not the Iranian bomb, it's not the Hezbollah, it's not the Hamas, and it is not any outside enemy. My only problem here in Israel today is the division in our society. So I need time, I need 10, 20 years to unite our society in Israel, and then to deal with externals. So if there is no Palestinian leaders who can afford it, I don't care. We are here 74 years. We are planning to stay more forever. We start with such and such. Look where are we now? $44,000 JDP, and you have $2,000. So that's your way. That's our way. Stay where are you? Where you are, unless you can bring other leaders to your tables and speak with me.
Can I ask you one follow-up here? You mentioned earlier on when you were talking about the Adura case, Mohammed Dahlan. May I ask you, what is your opinion of Mohammed Dahlan? Do you think he is a viable leader you could do business with? And are you still in touch with him?
I have to answer carefully. I know Mohammed Dahlan very well, and I know Jibril Raju very well. They used to have dinner in my house a lot of times. Unfortunately, Jibril Raju went to the extreme side, and I hope he will gone as well with those stupid leaders who thinks that by power they can solve their issue. What I can say about Mohammed Dahlan is I want to keep his life, of course. He's more practical. I have a lot of hope about his way to be more practical toward his people, first of all, and to lead them to a different way and different life. Yes, I was in Dubai. I said I was in Dubai a few months ago. We tried to meet. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it. All the rest I cannot answer. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Do we have any more questions? I'll take that for a no, and I'm going to ask one last one, and then we're going to ask.
Oh, I have a hard stop in. I have a hard stop in.
No.
So okay.
So can I ask or no? What was?
Yeah, short one.
Okay, good. So one last, yeah. So looking back, going back to the topic at hand, looking back and looking at what happened in Jenin, can you, I don't know, do you think Israel, on the Israeli side, they've learned something in terms of how to deal with the accusations, with the circumstances? I don't know, for example, releasing the video.
I think I answered that in between.
Okay.
I think they all read the book of Gior Island, and myself. I have an old chapter in my previous book, Leadership in a Moment of Truth, about the Mohammed Adura case. And they all read Mufaz's books, and they understand that the way of taking immediately responsibility is a big mistake. You have to be willing to put all the truth on the table. That's what the IDF says at the beginning. But again, I don't believe that we have a partner for that. So I don't see any other solution. I think that the lesson were learned from Muhammad Dura. But again, we have a tough other side, which they are looking for those events. They are looking for those cases, and they don't care even to sacrifice people for that. If you ask me backwards, they sacrificed Muhammad Dura for this case. Unfortunately, the journalist, I don't know what she did there, but again, being close to battlefield, it's a big risk. So for your question, yes, the looks like the lesson were learned.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Sami, for taking the time to speak to us today.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye, everybody.
You too. Bye.